1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Good morning here at AERO Fair. Guten Morgen, meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren. Ich begrüße hier auf der AERO 2015 in Friedrichshafen zur E-Flight Expo und speziell zur Panel-Diskussion zur E-Flight Expo. Es geht, wie jedes Mal bei der E-Flight Expo, um elektrisches Fliegen. Und dieses Jahr wollen wir einen Überblick geben um das elektrische Fliegen und einen Überblick darüber, wo es hingehen könnte. As most of the people on the panel speak English, and English is the language of aviation, we will hold this panel in English, and we have the honor this time to have the European Commissioner for Transport, and she will address some words to us, and she's really supporting electric aviation, so we are very pleased to have her here. And I will introduce the other members of the panel. For this I have to switch. Here we go. The next speaker will be Boscarol. I think everybody who is in electric aviation has heard his name and knows about him, and he will give us a vision of what he thinks, where it's going. Then we have Anton from Siemens, and Siemens, now we've heard of them in the last time in electric aviation. They have been in several projects, but now they are really going for it. They say it's a business case now, they're going to work for it, and they are presenting their world record engine here on the show. So he's giving the vision of what Siemens thinks aviation will be in the next years. And then we have what is totally necessary for this, Manfred Reichel from EASA, because EASA is the body who controls us. And so we have to work very closely with him to get electric aircraft in the air as fast as possible. And then this will be the presentations, and then for questions we would like to have more presentations, but there is a short part of time only which we have for this panel. So we also have Jan Friedrich from Czech Republic, who's very much involved in electric flying and light sport aviation, and Tom Gunnarson, who has been from the beginning in the development of the new standard in the ASTM committees, and you will hear about this a little bit more. This is very important for getting good rules for electric aviation. For those of you who are interested in a lot of details, this panel here is about 1 hour only. We will have the 4 presentations, then you will have time for questions and answers. And as I think there will be a lot of questions and answers, we have papers on the chairs there, and it would be great if you could put down to whom you want to address your question and a short question, and then we will take it here from the panel and give you the answers. So you put it down in German or in English, no problem, and we will try to answer as many as possible. For those who are deeply interested, the second part of this panel will take place in the room Vienna, which is upstairs here in the center foyer east. And there you can then speak with a specialist in longer and in detail and see how you can get your electric aircraft certified. So for the first, I would like to ask Commissioner Violeta to come on and give us her impression of what aviation can be.
Thank you very much. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be here, not only because of the position as a Commissioner of Transport that has a really exciting challenges ahead of, but also as an engineer, because that's my original profession, and it's just so much fun to see the incredible development that aviation has done, especially general aviation, in the last couple of years. So I try to be short, but you know, politicians can never be short. We always want to say what we want to say. But I'd really like to bring an attention why is it important that I'm here today, and why I'm happy for the organizers and to invite me and to get a chance to see what is going on live. So, first of all, the transport overall is the key enabler of single European market. And if we don't bring the European market together by connectivity and all transport modes, it won't happen. And because of that, we are, of course, very much motivated to bring all the modes to the level that can support the bold and business visions, ambitious, and also enable individuals that they can travel as freely as possible, as seamlessly as possible throughout the European market. But let me more share with you what are the three content drivers that we would like to really bring to all modes, and that is very important also for general aviation because of the direction that we really are emphasizing. There's going to be a much more opportunity that different modes cooperate together, especially in the research and development segment, and then of course have multiply effects on all modes at the same time. I'm talking about batteries, I'm talking about materials and similar things that are actually influencing all the modes at the same time. So one of first content drivers will be digitalization. Transport is really underutilized with the digitalization. That's why the exchange of information, the cooperation between different modes, the development of integrated services that can actually use all the modes in an effective and, of course, consumer-friendly manner are not, those conditions are not established yet. So we believe that digitalization will open up all the different new possibilities, and of course that applies also to aviation and all the segments of the aviation. The second important driver will be that I have to tell you a little bit what really prompted the second content driver is that transport uses over 35% of all the energy that is used in Europe. At the same time, we produce over 24% of all CO2 emissions. So in order to actually get a cleaner air really going, that we can really give a good support to these initiatives, of course we have to introduce some improvements in transport overall. At the same time, when I said that we use 34% of all the energy, I have to also say that 94% is oil-based. So you can see the correlation between the CO2 emissions and the type of fuel that we use. So in order to bring the CO2 emissions down, we decided to give a stress to the second content driver, which is alternative fuels, especially based on the renewables. And electrification is one of the strongest elements in that, besides LNG that we also support, especially for the maritime business. So in that respect, of course, every electrification of every kind of mode is of a high priority because we know that it's going to have a sustainable positive consequences on how we see transport, how we use transport, and how we integrate it in a higher quality of life in Europe. But very important is the third driver. The third driver is the push for internationalization of European solutions in transport. And that's another motivation why we're here today, is to really give a support to innovation, to high technology that can drive also and enable the leading role of European industry on a global scale. Especially in aviation, Europe has always been a leading force. And why to give it up? You know, so we hope that the fairs like this, the events like this, soon after this is coming the show in Paris, which we're going to go and see as well, which is the big aviation show. And we know already that with some very important political moves, but also business type of moves, we positioned ourselves on a global scale really successfully with Airbus. And we want to give, of course, the support to all other aviation segments as well, that we keep the leading role in research, development, in industry, and in business segment. So, and that's why we are bringing on board drones as well. Yeah, the drones is another thing that Europe right now is the leading force in commercial drones, and we want to keep it that way. So a couple of weeks ago we signed the Riga Declaration, which became sort of the global document that now everybody is referring to, and it's setting up the foundation for how we're going to go about drones and include them in everyday business. So, and altogether, another reason is why I'm here this time is because this year we dedicated to aviation. We're preparing, we're putting together aviation package that is going to include for the first time ever a strategy on aviation for the European Union, and also something important that is of course very important for you as well, it's a revision of EASA regulation, and you're going to probably hear more about that later. So we are planning to complete this document by the end of the year, and it is important for you to know that, and you probably do already, that it's a public consultation open right now on all topics related to aviation strategy. We are asking all stakeholders to come on board, to participate, to give their own views and contribute the research work or important information that could help us to shape up the strategy that actually will be really the leading strategy, and it will be an enabler and not an obstacle to development. So I will share responsibility with you. It's not only my responsibility, it's your responsibility that we get the right strategy, because we really want you on board for that. So it's still time. The public consultation ends on June 10th, and by then we hope to get enough good information that will be joined together with some previous research that's been already done, and EASA has performed a couple of consultations on various topics, basic regulation and on passengers' rights and similar things. And we will bring all this on board, and as I said, hopefully then process it into a sustainable and reliable and of course very bold document on aviation by the end of the year. But let me just spend a few more times on the topics that are related directly to the general aviation. Of course, the first thing for transport always is safety. And even though sometimes we know that you complain a lot because this is maybe over-regulated, and we took that on board. So there will be some changes introduced in the way how general aviation is handled. And especially with the safety issue, the Commission is considering the possibility to shift from perspective aviation rules towards more risk-based and performance-based rules. So that should ease the way how that is done for general aviation. We also heard that the top-down approach that is used until now, it's actually hurting the general aviation development, so we are now considering to adjust that from bottom-up approach. We do want to be more open for industry-driven standards, and that is also something that is now under serious consideration, and altogether is part of the general aviation roadmap. All these new additions and the way how to treat general aviation, which will be put together, if I'm not mistaken, by June, and then they will be taken on board as a contribution to aviation strategy and the refit of aviation rule, of EASA rules. I think we've done some very important moves already in 2013 and 14 when the forum, when the revision was made for the existing rules on air operation flights, crew licensing and airworthinesses. For example, adaptation were made in the field of certification, maintenance, and, very important, pilot training. Private pilots will be allowed to perform certain commercial flights without fulfilling the normal heavy requirements. And there will be an alleviation for reimbursement of flying clubs arrangement, sightseeing flights, flights and gliders, and that we hope is going to be also a contribution to a faster development of the general aviation rules. As I already mentioned, right now we are in the development of the general aviation roadmap, and we really want to ensure that all this, we take seriously all of your initiatives, so please be active, it's still time, and don't complain later, because it won't be time. And you know that these kind of rules are not changed every year, so I'm pretty sure that under my commission we will not touch them again. So this is the time to come on board and really participate and give the suggestions, and of course, as I said, we don't want to be an obstacle but an enabler of development. So, but we don't know everything, of course, you know much more than we do, and we need a good source of information, reliable, that we can build on. So let me just now share, and then this will be the end of my part, is some real practical consequences of the implementation of the general aviation roadmap, and I hope you're going to all be able to take an advantage of them. First, less prior requirements for certification and approval, and instead more a posterior compliance oversight for organizations and operators. Second, delegation of responsibility for overseeing general aviation operations to the general aviation sector organizations. And third, more proportionate and financially affordable regulations, and fourth, growth and technological advancements in the general aviation sector, which means we have some exciting research and innovation projects, and also financial instruments that can support that. And if I understood everything that I was able to read in the last couple of weeks on the issue of general aviation, we do have some really common challenges. One is how to store energy and how to then use it when you need it. We do count on this account on superconductivity and the development of superconductivity sector. So we hope that will go hand in hand with the development also of all aviation sector. And then we have two pillars. One is related to technical, of course, changes, which are also related to batteries, to electrical propulsion systems, which we are now supporting in our R&I documents, and it's part of the transport R&I document as well. So we hope that we can come together on that topic. And of course, the fuel cells that we do believe are some interesting future direction. And the other pillar is framework and certification procedures, where I already mentioned that revisioning of the EASA rules, especially on general aviation, the roadmap that I already talked about. So I think there is an exciting time in front of us, and at that point, my intervention stops, and engineers and specialists should take over, and let's see if they're going to persuade us which direction should be included. And a colleague from EASA, which will talk to you, now he has to adjust to my speech. He cannot contradict me, so he can only go deeper. And of course, we both will be listening very carefully what you're going to say, and read what you're going to send. And let's hope that the strategy on aviation for the segment of general aviation will really support the industry, will give a boost to European knowledge, innovation, and of course, business competences. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Bulc. And we are very happy, like said before, we are very happy to have you here on the AERO, at the E-Flight Expo, as this is the leading general aviation show, as I explained to you, and I think you've seen when we walked around, and we will walk around after this podium a little bit more. And now I'll ask your fellow man from Slovenia, Ivo, who is the pioneer of electric aviation. There is wow. And okay, it's yours, Ivo.
Thank you very much. I will be
if you would come back for the other questions.
Very quick. As you see from this slide, aviation is the youngest industry, and youngest branch of the transport. What you can see is that in the beginning the processes were much slower than now at the right side. So everything is going faster, but still, you know, it's almost 10 years when we introduced the first fully electric aircraft serially produced, and there are still not a lot of countries or continents where this aircraft can fly. I'm coming from this part of industry who try to also live about or from electric flight. You know, it's nice to be a pioneer, but it's very hard to live from this, believe me. First of all, what makes the electric flight possible? Not only electric engine, but the aircraft must be designed in a way that the needed energy is as less as possible, because in this moment the electric propulsion is not yet enough strong, or let's say efficient, to be adopted to all kinds of aircraft. What you see here is the first twin-seater produced in serial production and sold. This aircraft is legal in all continents and mostly, let's say, except, I would say, in Europe. Because in Europe, first of all, we don't have so flexible rules, and we have much more limitations than in the other continents. I would spend some more words today about this. This, what you see here, is the first four-seater fully electric aircraft, and still the only one. This aircraft is so efficient that with all the money the car industry has, they were not able to make a car in the last 4 years so efficient that this aircraft is. So there is no car able to carry 4 persons at the speed of 200 kilometers, 400 kilometers far. So in this moment, the electric aviation is still ahead of car industry. What you see here is the concept which proves that the electric propulsion can be, in a way or in another, also used in general aviation. Our project, Pantera, offered to the pilot 3 different propulsion, or the classic, or fuel-powered, or fully electric, or hybrid. What can be the future of the electric propulsion? At the moment, we are mainly all single shooters, and we have projects, but to prove that the electric propulsion is usable really, we need business cases. Let's say like this, what is necessary to do that the electric propulsion will be usable tomorrow. A lot of things can do industry, so we can do also. We must change the design, we must use a different approach to the aircraft. The shape will be probably different, the efficiency will be different. But what is important is that the authorities understand that we need the basis to be legal to fly and to produce the aircraft which are in a category, and this category must be so flexible that we can introduce the electric propulsion. The last sentence is very important. You know, when in 2007 we introduced the 2-seater fully electric aircraft, 2 or 3 weeks later, when the first information was published, all over the world. I have received a letter from Australian Civil Aviation, and they asked me to send the documents, or let's say the base, how the aircraft is produced and designed, to modify their rules in a way that we will be legal in Australia. That's a totally different approach we are facing in some other countries or continents. Look, what we are presenting now here on the show is the first fully electric trainer, and this trainer in Australia can be used for legal pilot, private pilot license, also for night VFR. With the same documentation we sent to Australia. In Europe it's very hard, really very hard to start the procedure. So we must really focus on the rules which will be accepting the electric propulsion, because electric propulsion is not a really big wow, but it's only the future, or let's say can be equal way of future flight. That's everything from my side. Thank you. It's 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Ivo. And so that I can remember who's next. Frank Anton, because Evo is a small, innovative company. I know Evo since the beginning of the 80s, and I saw his company grow. If you come to AERO on a regular basis, you see his space is growing every time. It gets more innovative things every time. Now we have a totally different thing, a very old, very perhaps also innovative company, but very huge company, Frank Anton from Siemens, who is making the electric engines for some of Evo's planes. He will tell us what Siemens brings into the game.
Willi, thank you. This is Commissioner Bulc, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, sometimes we try to be innovative, but I must admit Pipistrel is really one of the most innovative environments that I've seen so far. So it's really fun to work with a company like Evo's. And that I'm saying even more, since 50% of my blood is from Slovenia. So we have the majority today on the podium. How should I start? Should I start with a long-term vision or with what we are doing short-term? I have to tell you both. Our long-term vision of Siemens is clearly that by the year 2035, it will be usable for all of us to travel distances of 600 miles, 1,000 kilometers in aircraft that are hybrid electrically driven and that carry 60 to 90 passengers. This is the belief that we have so strongly that we even built a business plan on that. So we have started 5 years ago, and we are now in a mode where we are doing the things that are needed to prepare this. There are basically 3 areas. One area is, of course, you have to demonstrate on ground that it is possible to come up with technologies with very high power density that are nevertheless safe and that can generate megawatts. Number 2, you have to show in flight that smaller equipment, but still very strong, like in the order of a quarter of a megawatt, can carry aircraft today, and that these can be used by real pilots. And number 3, and this is most important, you have not only to make these technologies safe, but you have to be able to demonstrate the safety, and the authorities have to find ways how to certify this. So certification is the most important thing. We now have to think about applications in which we are no longer having 200 or 300 volts in an aircraft, but plus minus 1,500 volt, and that being safe. Okay, so it's a long reach, but it's also short term. Short term, we a couple of years ago started flying the first hybrid electric aircraft in the world. I myself last year flew Evo's What's Up He was alpha trainer with my electrical motor in it in the mountains of Eidelschina, and it was just a beautiful ride, and it tells me how nice it is to fly electrically. So in the next years to come, we will want to distribute this technology and to really see hundreds of pilots using it. This is why we have developed a 260 kilowatt, approximately 330, 340 horsepower electric engine. Just to give you an idea, it fits here on the table. It's relatively small and the table won't break because it only has 50 kilograms. I guess this table would just make 50 kilograms. So 50 kilograms for 260 kilowatt. This is what you need for aviation. Again, your question is, what about the batteries? I'm saying we believe that air transport will be based on hybrid electric concepts. So there's always a generator, a combustion engine, but it is smaller than usual, generating the energy for the cruise. And there are batteries just adding the additional power that you need during takeoff and climb and other situations. Of course, there are some areas in which a purely battery-driven aircraft makes a lot of sense, for example in training where you always fly traffic patterns. But again, for the distance flights, it will be, for decades to come, hybrid electric. That is our belief, because still kerosene and other stuff like that is the most dense storage for energy. The small engines that we are now coming up with should go into aircraft of 4 seats in the next years. Then we hope that by 2022, 2025 we will see 10-seaters up to 20-seaters. On purpose I'm not using the word 19-seaters, though I know that it will be, if you look into the regulations, 19-seaters. But I would rather see the regulations be adapted to what is optimum for the transport. And if it turns out that maybe 25 people is the right thing, so then it should be possible to have 25-seaters, if this is the best model for flying electrically. So we are strongly convinced. We think that with each year that we are going to meet here, our conviction will be increasing, and in a couple of years it will be quite normal that some of you sitting here will say, yes, I came with my electric aircraft this year, and I got a slot, and oh, I even got a slot preference, because when you fly electrically they always give you slot preferences.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we heard about the importance of certification for this in every speech. We heard that the certification is one of the key points. We have somebody from EASA, Manfred Reichel, so if you could step up and give us your vision about flying and how it could be certified.
So good morning everybody, my name is Manfred Reichel. I'm part of the GA, the General Aviation Group within EASA, and it's now me to close the loop. We started with the Commission and with the future. We started here, we went further with industry, and there are future plans and there are current plans. So now we have also to look a little bit from the regulation side, and this is my intention. I want to give you a brief overview about GA and electric propulsion in respect to regulation. So we have already certified aircrafts. We have actually 2 gliders, the Lange Antares E1. This has also the electric engine certified, the EA42. And interesting, this is certified under CS22 as a separate engine. So we have already a certified engine available, which is this. And sorry, I have to do this, but you see the size of the engine, which is rather small, and you see the size of the controller, which is rather big. So it's always amazing how small the engines are. And we have the Sportini Aviatica LAC 17D. And this is a glider which is not self-sustaining, but not self-launching. And here there is the FAS LAC 100M motor, and this is certified as part of the aircraft. So it's not a separate certificate, It's part of the aircraft. I will come later on to this again. And of course, we have lots of discussion and quite a lot of pre-application meetings, and we have some applications for certified aircraft in the CS23 or the VLA range. And we have the ASTM F24AT, currently in version 14, which means this has been issued last year. And this is actually in force already with CS LSA. So it took us about 6 months, if I'm right, to get this standard applicable for the European manufacturing, and they can use this. So currently we have already some regulations in place to cover electric motors. As you have heard from the other presenters, the electric propulsion is clearly developing far further and a lot quicker than we had. So I took your motor, actually, the 261 kilowatt engine. This is a motor which is good for a twin-engine aircraft, 6 people on board, this size of aircraft, only with 50 kilograms. But allows for sustainable and environmentally friendly GA also, so it's not only small but very efficient. And this promised to be a proper means for the different operations now. So we are coming in the range where we can really equip aircrafts with that. Of course, there are challenges ahead. We have heard already quite a lot of batteries. There is high current, high voltage. There's lots of energy in the battery block, so we have to talk about this and how to have it safe, also in case of a crash, so that the pilot can get out of the aircraft without being hit by the voltage or the current. So safety is clearly an issue. And we have lots of initiatives. I only mentioned here two. It's the Hypester, which is under the framework 2020. It's an EU initiative, so it's funded by the EU. And of course the ASTM, Electric Propulsion Working Group. And here I really would like to ask you to join those efforts, to join the groups, to discuss all this, to bring it forward. And we have lots of others. EASA's participation, Commissioner Bulc was already talking about that. We have different activities ongoing, and we are highly committed to support electric propulsion. From Commission as well as from EASA. We have, for that, we increase our internal knowledge. We get new expertise and resources, new people, new stuff to be able to cope with the task we have. We develop new standards, new rules, new specifications. We adapt them, and we will have also the guidance. And we have intensive coordination with and support to industry. So we, as I said before, we are quite a lot of times in direct contact with the industry and talk about the possibilities to go forward in the certified world. In addition, we have several NPAs out, Notice of Proposed Amendments. So one is, for example, and this might be interesting also for Pipistrel, is to extend the MTOM or MTOW, the minimum takeoff mass for the microlights in Annex 2, if they install electric propulsion. Currently we have different weights, for example already for normal two-seater aircraft, helicopter planes, and hydroplanes, which means amphibian or float planes. They can have 10% more. And this could be the same then for the normal airplane, but with electric propulsion to foster this area. How far we go here, this is still under discussion, but there is a clear intent to change Annex 2 in this direction. In parallel, we simplify the procedures to be able to certify CS LSA, to find here a good balance for this kind of aircraft, for the two-seater aircraft. Then, one of the most important bits for the bigger aircrafts, we are currently do a change of the CS23. We reorganize the CS23, which is currently, not limited, but mainly taking care about fuel and turbines, reciprocating engine, this kind of things. We are currently here to reorganize this, and again, I I really want to ask you to join this. We have an ANPA out where you can see the new proposed specification, which gets rid of all the fuel and all the reciprocating things and this kind of things. It's purely on the intention, and this gives us the possibility to be very flexible and to use standards, industry standards for certification. And of course, we need to think about ops, flight crew licensing, and also maintenance, because although three do not know electric propulsion, we have no mechanic license for electric propulsion. There we have to get it corrected. Currently, we can work with special conditions, so there is a way forward already. It's a little bit more work, but already now we can work with special conditions to get CS23 into the right area to have electric propulsion included. Thank you.
Now, I would ask those people who filled a question to hand on the form. Miss Bulc, if you would come up again, would be great. And we can do both, because like if you have, let's see, Christian, can you help picking up the papers? And if somebody wants to ask a question directly, perhaps we can already start with this. Some question, so perhaps I have one microphone. The first question is when Annex 2 should be in place for EASA, which means, I understand this right, that when this modification of Annex 2 should be in place. Is this a question? Who was? Yes. Okay, so EASA would be?
Unfortunately, there's a question I cannot answer right now. We have here a certain process in place. So we have the NPA done. This goes for consultation. The whole thing goes then to the Commission for further processing. I cannot tell you right now the date. I simply don't know. Okay, Commissioner Bulc just said this will be of course enforced by the Commission, and it should come out soon. Even less I can say when, so hopefully quite soon.
Okay, second question we have here would be for Frank Anton. If the development of electric power and storage for aviation informed and formed by automotive examples, are there similarities, and what are the differences you see there?
The differences and the similarities between automotive and electric aircraft. Well, automotive is asking for light and efficient motors, but only up to a certain limit. Once it fits into the car, the next and more important issue is the manufacturing cost, to a very, very strong extent, because they are making hundreds, thousands. They were planning to make millions, and I think it would be good they would. On the other hand, in aircraft, you are ready to go much further in power density, even if it is more expensive. Yeah? So if you compare such a lightweight motor that we have here at our booth, 50 kilogram, 260 kilowatt, this is a completely different ballpark as far as the cost of this motor is concerned. However, at the end, in the total cost of ownership of the aircraft, it will show a significant reduction though, because the investment cost is not really the big portion, but the big portion is the 25 to 50% reduction in fuel consumption.
Okay, answered the question or some other? Okay, the next question would be for the Commissioner. So much regularity work seems to be driven by the fear. What can you move to the culture, the fear of not having any risk? in aviation, and what could you make change for the culture of a culture of common sense? So it's say not getting something 100% safe, but then it's not operational anymore, to a culture of common sense, which is everybody could understand why the regulation is done by this.
Well, as I said before, safety is the highest issue in transport, and we really don't feel comfortable making any compromises there. But, as I already said before, we are pushing downstream the responsibility, and of course it is up to the also confidence level that's going to grow, and that's why the shows like this are important. The presence of aircrafts in a normal public life are important, and when the confidence raises and technology improves and we together build this confidence, then we can talk about some changes in the process. And as we already both announced, we are now willing to work with you, that especially for light crafts and general aviation, these restrictions that are usually meant for big aircrafts will be lowered, and but we will be very, very cautious about that and very careful, because we don't really want to make too much compromises on safety. That's, in transport, that's the highest value and the highest priority. So we will have to work a lot together, hand in hand, in order to release this kind of, as you call it, fear, I would say, precautious, and you see what the consequences are if we fail. So we really need to work together on this topic.
Okay, I thought that Jan Friedrich would have a comment on this, and just before you start, if somebody has finished another question, if you just lift your hand that we can see where the question is and pick up the paper, or, yeah, okay, Jan?
Mr. Commissioner, I think I hear in your words the basic problem which we have. I know that you are commissioning for transport. Unfortunately, the lower end of the general aviation, the sports flying, is not about transport. And this is the main problem, because I don't think that we have any safety problem down there. And we are forced to over-regulated system, which in fact is not increasing the safety, because people on our lower end, if the rule is stupid, sorry to say that, we just ignore it. And then the problem is that we can ignore something which is important. And because the amount of regulation which is coming in the past 10 years to the general aviation is so big that even some people in agencies are not able to cope with it. And this electric thing here is purely related to the fact that we need affordable regulation which enable that initial development. And that initial development is currently held by the requirements for certification of airframe. That's why there is no European type certified electric aircraft except gliders, which usually used to be certified, the airframe used to be certified before, or the culture in that, of certification in that area is slightly different. And that's why we need simple regulation, at least for LSA 600 kilo yesterday, not in 3 years' time.
Okay, so that's the Commission.
Well, I would have to comment and I will ask my colleague to add, but I hope we all hear each other. It's been an incredible opening right now, and we hope we're going to reach an agreement in this field, but it cannot be done overnight. I hope that that is understandable as well. But we are willing to talk about it. It is has been recognized that regulations have to be different. It cannot be just pushed from top down, but there is now a new approach from bottom up, which means that it will be added more and more complexity as we go upscale. But how and exactly what is the speed that we can do it with, this is the year to agree on. So as EASA and myself, we both invited you on board, And please have a dialogue. I know that you had it 10 years ago and you tried to do it for 10 years, but now is the time. Now we are all willing to reshape the regulatory frameworks, and we also have a very strong incentive to support the industry. So let's hope that we're going to come together.
Jan, sorry, but I respectfully have to disagree with your words for 3 reasons. The first is, we are in a little bit in a kind of dilemma. The one is, as a regulator, as a certification person, I know that there is always a risk. The question is how much risk we accept for that. We have accidents, that's fact, statistics is always against us. So, but nevertheless, we live with a certain risk, because also in the traffic you have a car, you have a motorbike, and you have different risk levels. On the other side, we have the accidents, and for the air accident investigation branch, each major injury and each fatality is one too much. And we have to justify if we don't do something. We really have to think about what is the reason, what has happened, what do we do about it. So we always have a little bit this dilemma in which direction we go. It is not easy, we try to do our best. And we also say, no, we don't change the rule, even if there was this accident, but we have to properly justify this. This is the one side. The other side is, we have everything in place already to certify electric motors and to certify electric aircrafts. This is fact. We have a certification review item, we have special conditions, we have different means to adapt the current specifications we have. I agree to you, and this is the point I agree, this is sometimes a little bit a lengthy process, yes, but we can do. Why we don't have bigger aircrafts currently on the market is simply because the technology was not that far. We had with Siemens about 2 years ago already a meeting on this kind of aircraft. Obviously the car disagreed to me. Time's out, time's out. No, but this is what I wanted to say. It's also the technology which must be there.
Perhaps what we can have, because it was not done by me, but it was in the right time. Ivo has one more comment on this, and then what we would like to say, we would like to close here. We will have a continuing of this discussion in the room Vienna up there. And so who's more interested in any details, follow some of the podium on the room Vienna, but we all understand that also the commissioner wants to see something from our aviation, so she would like to continue the tour, and we appreciate this. So perhaps Ivo, you comment, and then we can close afterwards.
I will comment this 2 last comments. Yes, we all agree that safety is first. For me also, I'm the first one sometimes flying. So technical safety is of course very important. And the rules must be focused also on this. But if you see the statistics, you will see that more than 85% the reasons of the accidents are human factors, not technical. So we are all focusing in the rules for technical basis, technical safety, but I believe the key point is not only on technical basis. That's very important.
Okay, thank you, Ivo, and I think this is a very good word for closing in safety, and I thank you all for coming here. I very much thank you, the AERO Fair Friedrichshafen, which when more than 6 years ago I came and said we have to do something in electric flying after doing my first electric flight. They followed us and we created this E-Flight Expo from there. So thank you Roland Bosch, thank you Klaus Wellman that we have this stage here on the largest general aviation show here on the world. And there is one very nice thing I heard in the morning. The commissioner said to me that because Roland and I worked on perhaps we can get over something similar to show what we can do in China. And she said,
If we do something in China, she will follow or will come with us, and this will be a great support. So thank you for this. Thank you all for coming, and who want to continue, Room Vienna. Thank you very much.